Hello, and welcome to another episode of Nothing and Like It. Thankfully, the only podcast that chronicles the FWA via its appearances on television. I am the man who has completely forgotten to write an intro for this episode, Kieran Lefort, and joining me, as usual, a man enjoying sausages, Eddie Sideburns. Eddie, how are you?
Yay, I'm doing great. I'm going to again date when this is. It's a couple of days after my birthday. I did it last month, and I'll do it again. I'm happy to be here, having sausages and getting ready to talk about some good old FWA, brother. Let's go.
Happy birthday. Are they special birthday sausages?
No, just normal sausages. I wish they were special. But no, I had a succulent Chinese meal to celebrate my birthday, so that's the main thing that matters.
And of course, a man I heard absolutely massacring a cup of coffee before we started recording, Andy Ogden. Andy, how are you?
I'm all right. Don't listeners ever do this, but I always stir the cup and then bang it 3 times on the side just so I've got every drop of coffee out of my spoon. But it's lovely stuff.
The O in OCD stands for Ogden.
It does.
We are back with 2 more episodes of FWA on TWC as we are getting ever closer to British Uprising 3. We're going to start with episode 29 from October 22nd, 2004. I was very sad. This is the last of the remasters. If anyone's got a box of mini DVs in their loft marked FWA Masters, give me a shout, because there was a severe drop-off in picture quality between this and the next episode. And he's got no idea what we're talking about because he watches the old Shit-O-Vision ones anyway.
Whereas I posted in our group chat the I'm a sad man, write anything about you want, anything you want about me, because I realised we were going from great vision to fucking jaundice again. So here we go.
But I would say, I do notice the difference between the old ones and the remastered ones, because I went on YouTube and watched the remastered like Uprising promo videos. And fuck me, they're great quality.
It looks good, doesn't it? See, it was worth my while. It was worth my while doing it.
You couldn't tell if they were from like 2025, these videos, because it puts camera quality to shame of fucking Progress or Red Pro. It's brilliant.
All that hard work, Kieran, that you did to remaster all those episodes. You didn't watch a fucking one, and then he waited to an Uprising thing and went, oh yeah, that's quite cracking there.
He waited till we're right near the end of this section and watched 3 minutes of my hard work.
It's because I want you to feel of Uprising.
Right, let's talk about these shows. Episode 29 starts with a recap of the finish of Doug Williams versus Joe Legend from last week. A man who sends out digital birthday cards, it turns out, to his favourite referees. Leroy Kincaid, not named as such, she's just security member, Alex Shane's security team member, runs out, causes a DQ. Shane comes out, they beat down Doug, bloody him up, and Alex takes possession of the FWA heavyweight title belt. A disembodied John Atkins says, after we went off the air, our cameras kept rolling. Doug is being helped to the back, but Shane comes back out and floors him with a big boot in the aisle. We fade to Greg Lambert in a Broxbourne locker room. He is worried about the upcoming Paul Travell versus Raj Ghosh match and the stipulation that if Travell wins, he gets 5 minutes in the ring with Lambert. He's giving himself a pep talk. He's all, pull yourself together, Greg. You're a genius. You're the one that got Birchall banned from the building tonight. If anyone can motivate Raj to win, you can. Enter Dean Ayers. He's feeling very smug because Lambert may have banned Birchall from the building, but he forgot about Dean. He asked Greg a series of questions about what he was doing at various points in his life. Things like, what were you doing in 1993? And Greg answers, he was studying to be Britain's #1 wrestling journalist. And Dean says, well, I was already working in the wrestling business. He asks about 2001, and Greg replies, he was writing for Power Slam. And Dean replies, so while you were writing about it, I was doing it. And the final question is for the special star prize. He says, what's your IQ? You must know that. And Greg very smugly responds that it's 142. And Dean says, oh, I'm so sorry, mine's 153. He says that Lambert doesn't match up to him in intelligence or experience. And I've seen you in the shower, Greg, and you don't match up to me there either. And then there's the wrestlers. He says, I've got Birchall, the greatest force of nature this business has seen for so many years, and you've got Drew McDonald. He says, Drew is past his prime, and that fat old man has had his day in the sun many, many years ago. And I wrote, Dean, my friend, look at that tan. Drew McDonald has had many, many days in the sun just this week. Anyway, as he's saying all this, Greg's face is changing because the camera pulls back to show that Drew has arrived behind Dean. Greg points, Dean turns, Drew seizes Dean by the neck, and we are a hair's breadth away from needing to send for the man because Dean is so close to laughing for just a split second. It's like he can't believe how hard Drew has grabbed him round the neck. So McDonald hauls AS up against the wall like that, like the meme of the giant woman holding the small girl against. It's all I can think of. He's inches from his face and he is screaming, this fat old man will put you in hospital. I'm not even doing the impression, Jesus Christ. That's foul. I can't do it loud enough, so I'm not going to do it. He says, this fat old man will put you in hospital for a long, long time. In fact, he says, I think you should go there right now to get that pain in your belly seen to. And as Dean is protesting he doesn't have a pain in his belly, Drew drops him with a punch to the stomach. And Greg stops him from doing any more damage and leans down to Dean. And he says, hey, Ias. He would keep calling him Ias, much like Eddie used to, with Dean correcting him. He says, who's the genius now? And the cackling heels leave. If things had stayed on the rails in the FWA, these two should have been on opposing sides for all of 2005. How is this their only interaction of any kind we have seen?
That is utter bollocks. That is just... I've put these two with teams in a feud would be brilliant. And
yes.
Just like that... yeah, I've also put that Greg keeps getting Dean's surname wrong, like I did. Sorry, Dean. Love you, mate. But this was great. Like, this was as soon as I saw that, obviously, who came in, I was like, oh, this is great, let's go. But now you've told me it's the only meeting between them. I'm very, very sad. This is annoying.
So obviously they are on opposing sides at Uprising, but after that, there's nothing.
No.
Like, can you think of a stronger family versus an AS-led army?
Yeah, it'd be great.
In the FWA, yeah.
I was going to say, where were you in 79 when the Badam began to burst, which was the main opening theme song for Dave Mastiff of Denim and Leather, but you know.
In 79, I was bursting my mum's dam, because that's when I was born.
In 1993, I was just born, so like...
Yeah, exactly.
What I liked about the back and forth promo between Greg and Dean was when Dean was sort of like one-upping Greg all the time. Half expected him to come out with the MJF line about 25 years too early. Of, I'm better than you and you know it. And here comes the Scottish tango man coming in to slap Dean around. My God, he was a bright shade of orange was our Drew.
He does look like someone has tattooed a leather couch, doesn't he?
I think he's either a tanning bed's favourite customer, or he very much enjoys his trips to Benidorm a bit too much.
Yes, I think so. The material I thought was a bit cheesy, and it looks really cheap in that pink dressing room, but they have such great chemistry together. Like, I filmed this, and I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed filming it until I watched it back this time. Yeah, really, really good. So we fade to another locker room. This one is Morecambe. And Mark Sloan is doing resistance band training with Tyrone spotting for him. He finishes at 25 and then takes a different kind of stretchy band off the wall and chucks it across the room to Stevie Knight, telling him he should warm up. And Knight gives it a couple of pulls before it snaps out of his hand and smacks Ollie Burns right in the eye. And Stevie chuckles and looks at it and goes, hey, that's pretty good. I'll have to use that as a finish. Hey, Mark, have you seen this? Fucking pissed myself. I shot this too. This wasn't the first take. Poor Ollie took that in the face twice.
I was going to say the first attempt was like 10 meters off his face. And so he had to take it again. But yeah, he was just like, oh!
No, it really hit him. Like, so that's the reason he's got his hand up is, it's to protect himself, but also to kind of hide the bruise that was coming up from the first time.
Big giant Nigel McGuinness egg on his.
He got fucking walloped. It looks so painful. Finally, the opening titles at 6 minutes and 49 seconds into the show.
I was going to say, I felt like an AEW Collision opening with all the backstage promos to start and going into Elton John.
So in the void, a surprisingly well shot John Atkins welcomes us to the show. He sets up Travell versus Ghost for later and our main event of Steve Corino versus Hayde Vanson. But first, in the little inset screen, we can see the Entourage making their entrance, so it must mean our opener is Mark Sloan and Stevie Knight versus Dangerous Damon Lee and Dirk Feelgood. This is Morecambe, September the 4th, 2004. Great gag to start out as Youngie is the referee, and he finds that resistance trainer stashed in Stevie's singlet while he's doing the pat down. And when Knight takes it off him to show him what it's for, Sloan flinches away so he doesn't get hit. Tony Giles says that Stevie recruited the specialist because of a non-televised match where Sloan beat Simmons. That was at the Enfield Round Robin tournament and wasn't put on the DVD. Sloan starts against DDL as Stevie shouts encouragement at him and abuse at the crowd. Stevie tags himself in as Sloan backs up near the corner while he has Lee in a wrist lock, and Damon does the exact reversal that Mark was trying to teach Stevie last week to reverse it. And Knight escapes that by poking him in the eyes, which was the reversal he wanted to do at the wrist lock, and that gets him a yellow card. As Sloan is explaining to Knight that that's illegal, Dirk gets a sneaky tag and rolls Knight up for a 2. DDL tags back in, puts the wrist lock on again. Stevie motions for the eye poke a second time but gets yelled at from his corner and agrees not to do it. The babyfaces batter Steve's arm as Sloan and Tyrone have a "where did we find this idiot" chat in front of the camera. Stevie gets hip tossed into his own corner and hugs Sloan around the waist for some comfort. Sloan slaps him on the shoulder to tag in and flattens Lee from behind as Knight causes a distraction, and we go to the ad break.
Kieran, I enjoyed this spot because obviously Stevie's shoulder was hurt, weren't it? And him tapping it on the injured shoulder, he's just fucking get off.
As in every ad break, we get Uprising. I'm not singing it again like I did last time. Every single ad break. When we come back, Knight has Damon in a headlock on the map. Tony Giles makes reference to coming back from a break, so I must have had this episode finished in time for the commentary for a change. Lee escapes the headlock and they clothesline each other for a double down. We get simultaneous tags and Dirk runs wild with a Dayglow comeback on both heels and gets a 2 on the not legal Knight with what I'm going to call the Ukrainian leg sweep because fuck Russia. Dirk hits a double rope run corner splash and signals for Lee to go up top as he holds Knight in a full Nelson. But from the floor, Sloan squirts Damon in the face with his water bottle and shoves him off the top rope to the floor. Great agenting, as on the live show, this was 2 matches before Williams versus Joe Legend. And what happened in that? Someone got shoved off the top rope to the floor at the finish. Stevie can't get Feelgood up for the air raid crash on the knee, so he gets Sloan to come in and do it for him and then gets the pin himself. And then after the match, he celebrates and hugs Mark like they've just won the tag titles. I thought this was lots of fun, mainly because they threw in callbacks to all the training skits we saw over the past couple of weeks. There was a spot in the match for every single one of them. I also really like Dirk's hot tag. I'm giving it 1.5, but not in a bad way, if that makes sense.
I'll say it was fine. It was good comedy. I think it was a bit weird, but kind of also then made sense with Dirk being on the other side, obviously, given he was teaming with Stevie not that long ago, but then obviously how that kind of ended. Stevie Knight looks like Tommy Harris from Coronation Street at the time. Andy might get that reference more than you, Kieran.
Yeah.
I have no idea who that is.
But if you search Tommy Harris, kind of looks like Stevie Knight. I like the yellow card. It was nice to see a yellow card appear. The Purple Cobras won. I thought it was okay. The comedy was quite funny. But
oh my god, yes, I've just seen it. Yes.
Remember when you said save your material? Quite glad I did it now. Oh, but yeah.
They could be
I love
brothers.
I love the fact that both of you were searching the picture. Yeah. Purple Cobra's win. Good throwbacks to the kind of training stuff. I thought the blind. The one thing I didn't like was the blind tag. I didn't see how it was a blind tag when it was such a loud smack, unless the referee had been distracted and I just hadn't seen it. But yeah, I thought it was. I would go on the same wavelength as you, Kieran.
Yeah.
I went 2 stars for this one.
Mhm.
I did enjoy the like flying armbar by Dirk. I thought that was a nice one. Sort of out of nowhere. As I mentioned, I enjoyed the tagging, what he did to Stevie Knight. I thought that was brilliant. Nice little touch that. But yeah, he's getting over Sloan and Knight as the next tag team, and they're entertaining at least. I think 95% from Stevie Knight and 5% from Dullard Mark Sloan.
they're an entertaining odd couple, but like every comedian needs a straight man.
They do,
And like
yeah.
there is no straighter man than Mark Sloan when it comes to the FWA.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they work well together. Like it's proper chalk and cheese stuff. It's good. We go quickly back to John, just so he can throw to Broxbourne for Paul Travell versus Raj Ghosh, reminding us that this is the first appearance for either man since Travell walked out on Ghosh in the match that cost them the tag title. So Travell comes out to his new theme, I Am Righteous by Citizen Smith. Andy, yes?
No, it's not the theme tune. What I'd like to point out here is Usain Bolt on the camera run here. The fucking rapidness of you trying to get a picture of Paul Travell just stood on the ropes and falling ass over titty becomes so out of focus. Like, oh, yes, I've got it.
So some people, like Alex Shane, had like fully choreographed entrances, right? I knew exactly where he was going to be at every point in his song.
Yeah.
And so I knew where to go. Travell was a little more unpredictable. And also, it could have been that I had given the other camera op a signal to go and get the shot and he hadn't done it. That was like frequently I would have to be directing people while I was running camera.
Yeah.
I did. Well, you know, I was younger and fitter in those days. I did do a lot of running around when it came to FWA camera work.
Yeah.
Yes, the theme tune. This, I think, is my favourite of the FWA in-house tracks. Page turn. We haven't had one of those for weeks. I thought I'd finally abolished that transition, but no. This one brings us Greg Lambert, who's in the aisle with a microphone, and he's warning Paul to stay back. He says, I'm a writer, not a fighter, and if you come any closer, I'll be in my car and out of here because I'm not fighting you, you psycho. Travell plays off the crowd's "He's a psycho" chant.
Did you feel here as well with Travell? It showed him for like an instant, like 5 seconds. It was sort of like rocking on the ropes, like he was having a whitey, or he'd had too much sniff in the back. It was fucking proper, gnawing his own face off.
That kind of physicality is part of the righteous character.
Exactly.
I know nothing. I mean, there are several members of the roster I can make very educated guesses about. I know nothing about the proclivities of one Paul Travell.
Yeah, it's probably years of watching like reruns of Train Spotting on the telly, you know, just listening to that.
Or just hanging out with wrestlers.
Hanging out.
So Greg says the last time they were in Broxbourne, it was the worst night of my life because you cost me the FWA tag title. And the only saving grace is I got to slap you across your psycho turncoat Jack Nicholson wannabe twitchy little face. He goes on to say that Travell used to say that he didn't see the point in having Travell as a manager, but the one news he did have was that he used to read the small print. Well, in Paul's haste to sign for a match where he might be able to get his hands on the truth, he read the small print, which said, if Raj Ghosh is in no fit state to wrestle, Lambert gets to pick a suitable replacement. Greg says that Ghosh has a shoulder injury from taking Travell's sacrificial slam in the tag title match and has indeed found a replacement. It is Drew McDonald. So Drew stalks to the ring. Travell looks worried until he bails and comes back with Mr. Pointy from under the ring and holds his ground in the centre of the ring. I wrote ring too many times in that sentence. Drew walks around until Paul has his back to the entrance, and, if I may borrow a line from our good friends at Days of Thunder, a large man appears. Said large man enters via the top rope, which gets Travell's attention, allowing Drew to rush in from behind and drive Paul's head into the spiked robe the large man is wearing. As Paul runs the razor off camera, the large man removes his robe to reveal he is, in fact, a walking steroid with a metallic half mask. Do either of you recognise him? We've seen him before.
Oh, he appeared for one thing and then disappeared. No, that's wrong.
At first, Kieran, I put the name Dominator down, but I knew it was from that universe.
So this man was seen very briefly as Tyrant in the opening titles of Revival. He was one of the wrestlers that showed up for the tournament draw out of the bag and wasn't used. Here, though, Greg introduces him as the Mighty Thunder. He is Darren Walsh from Coventry, conveniently where Uprising is taking place.
Has he got the ring?
It's nice to see Guy's big brother has finally shown up. But why he only has one name?
As commentary are going, look at the size of him, etc., the crowd are chanting Warlord at him. And I wrote, he looks like Bane auditioning to play Rob Van Dam for a Dark Side of the Ring episode, but he's left the wig at home.
He looked like Nathan Jones, I thought, at one point, and I was like, no, this is way off.
Nathan Jones, if you chop a foot off him.
Yeah, shrunk them.
So the heels batter Travell and hold him up. Greg tears off his jacket and is shouting, let's have our 5 minutes now, and slapping him across the face. The crowd chant for Burchill, and beaming like a Cheshire cat, Greg tells the crowd that he had Burchill barred and narrowly avoids getting Travell hip-tossed into him. The heels beat on Paul until Lambert has to legit tell McDonald to stop so he can cut his promo. He says the family is dead, Paul Travell, and he turns to the crowd and says, and so is your hardcore icon. Thunder, in name and appearance, is too cartoony for the FWA. Yeah. But the layout and execution of this is so good. Like Greg is the master of the details. I think the promotion would have been happy with him just saying that Raj is injured, so here's Drew. But he takes the time to tie it back to Paul hitting him with his move. Yeah, I don't like the character. I like everything else that's going on around it.
Yeah, it's a bit cartoonish for the FWA. I would say it's Thunder, but the shot of it was like the two Mitchell brothers just holding up Paul whilst Max Brannan is shouting at Travell.
I actually thought it was a good wee moment when Lambert was talking, and as he was walking, they both hip tossed them right in front of him. I thought that
it was so close to. If he hadn't taken that one step to the side, like he would have got Travell like clattering to the back of his legs.
Yeah, this guy looks like he's been. The Thunder guy does look like he's something that's been created from Mad Max or some kind of cyber thing.
Well, the Asylum Pictures version of Mad Max.
Yeah, or like someone coming out of He-Man or something like the Masters of the Universe kind of this guy. But like
it's a bit more angry Adrian than Mad Max.
Yeah, but like look at this in the words of obviously a current wrestler. Look at the size of him. He's a tall fucking lad. Gee, well, tall.
He's more wide than tall,
and also like the fact the shoulder pad made. The shoulder pad we use as a weapon. I like that. Something different.
Yeah. So we fade to earlier tonight, back in Morecambe. Alex Shane is in the ring with a microphone and he's whinging about Steve Corino. He says that Flash Barker might have set up Shane versus Corino, but it's not going to happen because he, as managing director, has put Corino up against Hayde Vanson tonight. And he'll never get to fight Alex Shane because Vanson is simply going to end his career. And there's two things you can do about it. That's nothing and fire! Out comes Corino. I like his Chibi-Corino Ichiban t-shirt that he's got on. That's pretty cool. With the little cartoon version of him on the front. Steve makes it to the apron before Vanson attacks him from behind and smashes him off all the ringside features. He throws him in the ring where Corino desperately tries to get a taunting show stealer, but Shane spins him into a Vanson superkick and we fade to black as Hayde poses over Corino's fallen body. Countdown to Corino. Time's up. Get in the ring, you coward. Steve Corino versus Hayde Vanson is next. Ad break and Uprising. And then it's not next because we come back and it's John Atkins with the Uprising update. He plugs getting tickets from the number on your screen and runs down the card so far, which is the Next Generation three-way dance of Aviv Mayan versus Ross Jordan versus Spud, who debuts next week, with the winner getting an All-England title shot at Seasons Beatings on December the 10th at Brent Town Hall. Let's see if any of that happens. Hayde Vanson versus Jack Xavier for the All-England title in the Last Man Standing match. Hampton Court versus Mark Sloan and Stevie Knight for the tag title. Tune in next week to see how this match comes about. D'Lo Brown will return to the FWA. His opponent is yet to be confirmed. James Ty versus AJ. James Ty. I've written James Ty versus AJ Ty. Pretty sure that's not going to happen. How about James Ty versus AJ Styles in a 30-minute Iron Man match? Drew McDonald, Raj Ghosh and Thunder versus Birchall, Paul Travell and Terry Funk in, quote, wild six-man action. We need to stay tuned to find out how Funk got involved in that one as well. And your main event is one fall to take it all. Doug Williams versus Alex Shane. If Shane wins, he becomes the heavyweight champion. If Doug wins, Alex has to fight the man who knocked out Mike Tyson, British boxing hero Danny Williams. Get used to hearing those words in that order over these 2 episodes. Plus, if you purchase gold, silver or bronze ringside tickets, then you get early entry to the bonus British Uproar pre-show to see Colt Cabana versus Dirk Feelgood.
Yeah.
Or you can just wait and buy the DVD as that's in the extras. So we will get to see it when we cover Uprising.
Ah, good.
Yeah. Do you remember when John came on this show and said when he was a kid, the coolest man in the world to him was Tony Schiavone? This is 100% Halloween Havoc Control Center. I think John does a great job of selling all of this. And there's the music and the graphics and all the illustrative clips whenever he mentions people and talks about the feuds. I think it's a really good little couple of minutes of hype.
He sells everything that needs to happen, that is going to happen in brackets potentially. I mean, if there's stuff that like completely out of the blue that Terry Funk appears in this, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I think it's an issue that bears talking about, but possibly I don't know if we should talk about it this episode or next episode. I think a lot of the build, well, I'm about to start, I guess. A lot of the build is hurt by having to sell tickets without having, and give people reasons to come to a show without having shown them the events that lead up to those matches.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about it from the beginning with the tag bit and the announcement of that, and it was like, well, we're seeing the story of how that's evolving. But you've already told us the kind of part of it. And
also, like, minor spoiler, there is a promo to bring Terry Funk into that match. It doesn't air for another 2 weeks.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is to do with how disorganized and chaotic the FWA was. And also, I'll go back to it again, a one-man television department trying to chuck all this together and working 80, 90 hours a week to throw together a TV show.
Yeah.
It's
So you're admitting, Kieran, it's all your fault, mate. And
yes. Yeah, finally, after 20 years, I will finally admit that it's my fault that this is such a mess.
You know, when you said about the show rundown, I'm just thinking that nowadays, apart from, say, WrestleMania, you don't really get that, you know, hard sell from the commentators on WWE saying this is this, that, and that match with the great theme tune in the background. You just don't really get it.
AEW do it sometimes.
Yeah, but they don't really have a memorable tune in the background unless it's the one for All In. That's
I was going to say unless they're playing the Bush track for All In, then yeah. But no, I mean, like on the Go Home show, you'll get like Excalibur needing the oxygen tank as he runs down. Collision, next week's Dynamite, the pay-per-view and the pre-show, like listing of 18 matches or whatever he's got to do, and then keeling over and needing to have CPR.
But what Andy wants is Booker T running through the card with music in the background. I'm going, oh, shucky ducky, yeah. like one of the things I will say, and I'm really glad about Uprising, I'm really glad that the most professional man in the company is coming back. Like that was a good surprise for me to see that D'Lo was back.
Yes.
But yeah, and I get it's a very good, as I said, John Atkins, very well done, very good stuff on that. It was great to kind of. The problem is obviously, as we've already talked about, they're having to sell stuff and promote stuff that hasn't even happened on the TV yet. But he's still done a really good professional job of it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, I can't do these with John every week, so I've got to go and shoot them and then just drop them in the show. I think what would be much better is having, and if we'd thought about this, basically doing different versions. All we do is shoot segments promoting each match. And then as those matches get set up on the TV show, they get slotted into this hype segment. So nothing is talked about until it's out. Nobody was fucking, but well, they might have been buying tickets to see Simmons, but like I was going to say, no one is buying tickets to see Mark Sloan and Stevie Knight go for tag titles, are they? They're buying for the FWA name. They're buying for Alex Shane versus Doug Williams. They're buying for AJ Styles. They're buying for D'Lo Brown. Like they're not that nobody plomped down their 30 quid going, oh, fuck, I might see Mark Sloan win the tag titles. Like, there is no reason. There is no reason that couldn't have waited. Although, I think the reason it didn't wait is because something I've always tried to do when I've worked in wrestling is put, in any way I can, put importance on championships. So, for example, there is no reason a secondary championship can't main event a TV episode.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. Like, announce the title matches, right? Like, people, I was maybe under like a very mistaken impression that people want to see people fight for titles. Like, that's important.
Yeah.
But in the scheme of the FWA, and given how the division is, the tag team title is absolutely not important.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to take the time to just apologise to the one Mark Sloan fan who did buy the ticket for Uprising based purely on the fact that he could potentially win the tag titles. But yeah. Also, British Uproar, can I talk about a match that I'm really now looking forward to? Can we talk about the fact that I'm going to see Dirk Feelgood versus Colt Cabana?
You are indeed.
Oh, cannot wait.
I haven't seen it since it happened. I've got no idea how it goes. We will find out in 2 months.
I am circling it in the diary. Cannot wait.
So we fade to black and then immediately back to John in his regular void for him to do the briefest of throws to the commentary team. He says the countdown to Corino has come to an end, and it is Steve Corino versus Hayde Vanson. Morecambe, September the 4th, 2004. These two do a load of stalling and basic stuff. After a bit of confusion earlier on, through things that Alex Shane might have said, commentary has to confirm that this is non-title and that Corino will get his match with Alex Shane in 2 weeks. Tony also says that Doug was sent to the hospital after the Shane and Friends attack and he could be out for a long time. Corino locks in a figure four as I'm distracted by the colour on the cameras not matching. Hayde obviously gets distracted by it too as he comes out of the corner too early for something and gets messily hoofed in the gut and then bent over for the Kawada kicks and then takes a Yakuza kick in the corner. We go to an ad break, and when we come back, Steve is chopping the shit out of Hayde but gets reversed into an exploder and a bridging jackknife pin for a near fall. After a boring chinlock, a high angle Saito suplex gets another. Corino doesn't know Hayde's stuff as Vanson does the pointless roly-poly into the tornado forearm, but Steve doesn't come out of the corner, so Hayde has to roll to the corner, run away from the corner, and then run back into it just to hit a forearm. My next note just says, Jesus Christ. Corino rolls clear of a top rope headbutt, and after a forearm battle hits an Enzui-Giri, a DDT, and an STO for a 2 count. Hayde blocks a lariat, but Corino spins him, clubs him across the shoulders with what I think was supposed to be a lariat to the back of the head, flings off the elbow pad, and Hayde, to his credit, takes an excellent backflip bump for the lariat and the pin. This felt very house show. The first half was a complete nothing burger, and then after the break wasn't exactly barn burning stuff. 2 stars, maybe.
1 star. Fucking hell, there wasn't any fire in this match, was there?
There wasn't, was there?
My God, it almost felt like if you want to come to WWE, well, here's one of our trainers to teach you the style of how we work on this promotion, brother. It was just methodical all the way through. I know Hayde, we've said he's tried to play wrestling in the past, but at least he had a bit of snap and a bit of oomph. This was Corino telling Hayde, "You're coming down to my level, way down.
Yeah.
Slow it down, brother." He treated Hayde here, who's he's your secondary champion, treated him like a jobber, a nobody. 1 star. Shit.
I was curious how half-arsed Steve had went into this, so I checked what his schedule was, as I normally do, and I kind of go,
Where's Corino?
Corino. And it turns out the night before he was up in Scotland taking on Iceman. So I can imagine that probably took a lot out of him. And then he came to Morecambe and was like, "We're going to bring it real slow and real down." And to be fair, the day before that, he was in Japan doing a taping for Hustle. So, like, Corino must have been exhausted by this point and was just like, I'm going to work at like 4 or 5, but I'm not going to go anywhere above that. That's what we're going to get. It felt very, they're very kind of, there was not a lot into it.
No.
I thought the ending was okay. The lariat was pretty okay. But other than that, like, it's a tune-up, but shouldn't have been a tune-up, especially when I say it's your secondary champ.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But that's the problem, is like, he is Alex Shane's head goon, right?
Well, this is what I was saying.
You could have given him sticks, maybe.
Yeah,
But
again,
that's not going to sell any tickets to Morecambe. Steve Corino versus the secondary champion might sell some tickets. Steve Corino versus Sticks ain't selling shit. Sorry, buddy.
No, you have to, like, you had to have a third person a third heel in that who is well established, but enough that can take the fall. Whereas
Steve Corino versus Joey Legend.
Yeah, Steve versus Joe or Kincaid, Steve McFadden's favorite hard man of Britain.
I don't think Leroy Kincaid was anywhere near ready to have matches yet.
No, that's true. I mean, it would have had to have been Sticks.
Yeah.
At that point. But yeah, like, and it also felt like, okay, so Steve's now due a title shot, but that's not probably going to happen because frankly we don't want to see this again.
No, so the FWA doesn't really do the pin the champion, get a title shot thing.
Okay.
That's something that's kind of come into wrestling through modern Japanese wrestling, really. That just wasn't a thing at this point.
Yeah, fair enough.
So we go back to John to plug the debut of Spud versus James Ty, Mark Sloan versus Simmons, with Sloan and Knight getting a title shot if he wins. I wonder how that will go. Plus, we'll get to see the Danny Williams angle in full next week. I think this episode might be the weakest show of the TWC run for matches, at least since stuff like the Newport speed run we did near the beginning of the series. But I quite like how this show is formatted. And I think when the FWA has a focus, like a big show to point everything towards, it's very entertaining. All of the non-wrestling stuff on this show is really good and is building towards something. And it's the matches that kind of let it down. And I like that it's not just building towards Uprising, it's also building towards the subsequent weeks of TV. But yeah, I think Steve Corino should have put his working boots on rather than his lazy boots.
Yeah, I'd say it's not. It's a weak. It's good for development of stories, but weak for matches, which is pretty much what you've said. I think the Dean stuff, the Dean and Greg stuff was really good. I don't know. I just would rather see a bit more, like the Travell bit, then turning into an angle. I was a bit, right. I could kind of see where this was going, but and yeah, Corino didn't perform to expectations in the main, so it's an episode I'll forget quite quickly, unfortunately, other than obviously the reflexing thing being hit on poor Ollie Burns' head. But...
Yeah, full agreement from myself. Promos over the in-ring stuff.
Yeah. So on we go to episode 30, October the 29th, 2004. Oh my God, my eyes. My 4K TV nearly went on strike having to display this horrible VHS muck after months of lovely HD remasters. God damn, this looked horrible.
The goggles, they do nothing.
Yes. Yes. The past, as Eddie has said before, the past is in a tiny box as we get a recap of a blurry Steve Corino pinning to Hayde Vanson from last week. Dissolved to Hayde bursting, tired and limping into a dressing room. I'm not surprised he's limping if he's walked the 250 miles from Morecambe to this room in Broxbourne. All he says is Corino may have beaten him, but his next match is against Alex Shane, and that's where his winning streak comes to an end. We dissolved Tony Giles speaking very quickly as he interviews... What? Yes?
Hold on. The most important thing that I remembered of this promo, please leave this room as you expect to find it. Which
Oh, yes!
I was more taken by that than I was the promo.
And the other thing, did you notice one of the side plates has fallen off the belt?
Oh, I just
Yes.
honestly, that sign, I was like, I'm more interested in that than you talking.
Yes.
I was going to mention not about the side plates or the please leave the room tidy, but you mentioned Tony Giles. Has he been into Mick McManus's hair dye tub here? It's proper vampire levels of black.
Yes, it is. So he's speaking very quickly as he interviews a suspiciously tall looking Spud. He asks Spud how he feels about going up against James Tye in his TV debut, and Spud says when he hears the name James Tye, he thinks 2002 Rookie of the Year and the man who retired Johnny Storm. He says Storm is one of his wrestling heroes and one of the reasons he wanted to be a wrestler. He says tonight he's going to give it his best shot and do what Johnny Storm couldn't, beat James Tye. And Tony breaks and he goes, oh, well, good luck, man. And they shake hands. And then Spud hops down off whatever he was standing on to reveal how small he really is and walks away. I think this was my idea. Jury is out on whether it was a good one or not.
He's going to beat him, and he's going to beat him good. And then just like, and I'm like, okay. I thought, is Kieran left a bit in here? Has he forgot to edit this out? As Spud jumps off the box and walks up.
Yeah. No, entirely on purpose.
Oh,
there's a photo
Lord.
of this. I've got it. It went up on LSR's Instagram, and it's a picture of the three of us with Spud standing on whatever he's standing on. Dissolve 2, Broxbourne Civic Hall reception. The receptionist is putting out a PA announcement that there's a phone call for Mr. Simmons. Simmons appears and he takes the call. Hello, sir. Right. Blood? Blunderbuss? You've shot the chauffeur? Police? Rightio, Duke. I'll report upon my return. Oh, dear. And he walks away. Unfortunately, what he fails to do is get across that all this means that Duke won't be here tonight. You had one job.
This reminded me of the scene from Beyond the Mat, Frontier Wrestling Alliance. One moment, please. FWA, one moment, please, where they're in the reception area.
Oh.
So opening titles, only 2 minutes and 18 seconds into the show this week. Blurry Standard Def John sets up Ty versus Spud for later and tells that Danny Williams will be in attendance. But first, Mark Sloan versus Simmons, with Sloan and Stevie Knight getting a tag team title shot if Mark wins. So back to Broxbourne, September the 5th, 2004. And the Entourage seems to have an extra member who is lagging a little behind the others and is only wearing the hood part of the outfit. He has the bucket and the water bottle, and when Sloan taps him for the bottle, he sprays the specialist and all of the lackeys with it, revealing himself to indeed be Simmons in a cunning disguise. Simmons attacks with a corner splash, clotheslines and a backdrop, and Sloan rolls out the ring. Comms keep calling Entourage the Sloan clones. And let me tell you, Mark Sloan fucking hated this.
If he hates that, I hope he fucking loves the Purple Cobras, as I keep calling them.
Well, this is also the match that birthed the speed bump chant, and he hated that too. So Sloan takes a dogshit bump off a monkey flip, but avoids an elbow drop and goes on offense until he runs into a back elbow, a neck breaker, and a drop kick to the knee, followed by Simmons quieting the crowd down so he can do a low-key taunt, followed by a very weak kick. We already have one low-key impersonator on this show, and we haven't seen the last of the real thing yet. Why do we need another? Sloan comes back with a discus lariat and a lazy TNA kick. They battle over a suplex, ending in a Sloan tomorrow driver that leaves Mark clutching his own knee. Simmons comes back with a stomp on Sloan's feet, and then... What the hell? I think I've been beaten by autocorrect here. What's that meant to say? I don't know. I'm just going to say he then goes up for the Butler Buster. He's distracted by his own music playing and thinks it's the Duke, but instead out comes Stevie Knight, giving Sloan the opportunity to spray Simmons with a water bottle and hit Trouble in Portsmouth for the pin. So now we finally know how Sloan and Knight got their title shot. I don't know about you. I couldn't fucking wait for this to end. The best part of this whole match is John Atkins as ring announcer announcing that Mark Sloan is the winner and Stevie Knight going, I win too, demanding that Quilden raise his hand. Shit, 3/4 of a star.
All I was going to say is there's a bit where Stevie keeps shouting at Mark, and it's like Alan Partridge shouting Dan when he's like, Mark.
Yes.
Which I thought was great. The Loki impression was horrendous. The Loki impression was horrendous. Yeah, I didn't like this. Did not like this at all.
No.
Drag like fuck, 3/4 of a star, speed bump, Mark Bailey.
Also, where's the belt, Simmons? Like, my God, these tag belts just don't exist at all, do they?
Well, it wouldn't have worked because he was coming out disguised as a Sloan clone.
True.
And I think there is actually a bit you don't see on TV. So I'm remembering this now. So Sloan comes out with his entourage. The last one, as he steps through the curtain, Simmons like grabs him and pulls him back and takes the hood off him.
Yes, because I saw one of them as the match was going. I saw one of them.
Like there's an extra one appears.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's what happened, but it just didn't make TV or it wasn't caught on any of the cameras.
Yeah. Just bad. Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, just the Stevie Knight by the end, like wanting his hand raised as well. I like that. But yeah, this was just shit.
You mentioned about the low-key impressions. That's probably because he was always at the Portsmouth Wrestling School doing them adverts. So they had time to take the piss out of it.
On November the 13th, the Phoenix will rise once again. Interspersed with clips of Jodie Fleisch, including the balcony moonsault, cutting to the Skydome box office phone number and the Uprising theme. This is the announcement that Jodie Fleisch will indeed be appearing at British Uprising 3. So I guess they want to shift some more tickets. Not enough people are showing up for Mark Sloan going for the tag belts. So like, fuck, get Jodie Fleisch on the blower. Ad break, including a smash cut to Gloria Hunniford. And I was like, fuck, is she going to be at Uprising as well?
The Phoenix has rised. That's right. Gloria Hunniford is going to be in Coventry. That's the real Phoenix. I don't know why they were showing something with Jodie Fleisch.
I don't know who this other guy is.
The Phoenix Gloria Hunniford. That Hunniford.
So when we come back, James Ty is walking down a corridor. Tony Giles leaps out at him from a corner like Kato coming out of a wardrobe at Inspector Clouseau. And he goes, James Ty, tonight you're wrestling Spud. Spud? Who's Spud? Get out of my way. James Ty's best promo.
Oh, yes. My similar note here, Kieran. Best James Ty promo ever. Love it.
So John in the Netherrealm says, we surely remember Johnny Storm being sent packing from the FWA by James Ty. And if we don't, the finish is playing in the inset screen anyway. Well, imagine my shock when I turned on the wrestling channel to watch my favourite show, The Bagpipe Report, to see none other than this. And we get a clip from The Bagpipe Report with Johnny Storm in a wig, putting on an American accent, claiming to be the presenter, Blake Norton. Norton wheels in from off camera, tied to an office chair, yelling as best he can with duct tape over his mouth. Did anybody else think he sounded exactly like a Muppet?
Yeah.
Storm takes the clipboard that Blake has on his lap. Sign my petition, FWA, baby. And then with a bleeped fuck off, push kicks Norton off screen and throws to the opening titles as you can hear the crew laughing. We will get more on this next month as this doesn't really explain what's going on. But I think it's made clear there will be more on the next episode of FWA TV. We just also Alex Shane on his 2004 flip phone again. He hangs up and turns to the camera and does his typical Shane promo about the upcoming match with Steve Corino. The fact of the matter is this, gets said quite a lot. He says the match is going to make him so much money he'll be able to do all the things Corino does, like fly to fly to Japan and the US. He says, I'm going to use you like some dirty whore, bleeped because this is the censored version, to make the show stealer even bigger than he already is. He says, you're not in ECW anymore. You're not in MLW anymore. You're not even in 01 anymore. You're in the FWA, son. You're on my territory. He says he's going to be standing over the body and career of Steve Corino, and there's two things you can do about it. That's fly back to America and never, ever come back to the FWA again. And a graphic tells us that finally the match is going to be next week.
I thought the highlight of this promo was just me zooming in on, fucking hell, that phone looks small in Alex's hands.
There was a trend for small phones.
Yeah, them and Blackberries. I bet he had one.
I was given a Blackberry for work. It would have been 3 or 4 years after this, and I used it for maybe 3 weeks before I gave it back. I fucking hated it.
They were terrible, weren't they? And they were like the popular thing.
John does a quick link to Spud and Ty from the Inky Blackness, and then we go back to Brockspawn, hot wired again. James Ty versus Spud. James smarmily shakes hands at the bell. And Spud is able to use all of his speed to counter all the holes that James tries. So James invites him for a mocking test of strength, and then instead leg dives him for a takedown. Twice, Spud is able to use his other leg to scissor Ty's hands and spin out of the toe hold, but James steps on the free leg to stop it happening a third time. Ty goes to work on the knee as commentary talk about how he's won matches recently with the Texas Cloverleaf, before Spud is able to kick him off a spinning toe hold into some rope running, which Spud comes out on top of with a lucha-style arm drag and Dragon Kid's Deja Vu double rotation head scissors for a big pop and sending James scurrying to the corner. Ty fights back with a military press, drops into a bridging sack of shit slam for a 2 count. He picks Spud up for a very easy, long, delayed suplex where he just walks around the ring holding him up. Spud gets a desperation sunset flip and avoids Ty's attempt to just punch him in the face to counter. He manages a facebuster onto his knee but runs into this lovely power slam. Sportsman James Ty, though, steps back to allow Spud to recover and get back on his feet, and then immediately flattens him from behind, and then goes on cocky offense, showing that he doesn't take this little guy seriously. He uses a lovely bridging double underhook suplex out the corner for another near fall. And there's this great series of reversals where Spud is pulled up from a grounded double knuckle lock into a sunset flip, pulled out of that by his neck, which he turns into a wheelbarrow looking for a bulldog. But James hangs on to him with one regular shin crusher, followed by a second one where he sits out and drives Spud's knee into the mat. Nick London says, James, you're as sick as a dog, and I mean that in a nice way. Ty keeps kicking the shit out of Spud's leg as we... Holy shit, Mako Sasamura! Oh my god, no, it's only an ad break. Okay.
I do, by the way, I had to watch that. I had to find a way to find that Mako Satomura one. Oh, I love those. Love those. Yep. So good.
I will blow you apart. I will eat you for lunch. Yeah, can you imagine Gloria Honeyford and Mako Sasamura? The hell with Stevie Knight and Mark Sloan. They're the ones going for the tag belts.
The Honey Monster versus...
Honey Monster would be a fucking brilliant name for that team.
Just imagine Gloria Honeyford in the Gaia setup with the training.
Yeah. She's got a vicious lariat on her, that woman.
Oh. By the way, can I just say, I mean, we're in the middle of obviously this match is brutal. Like everything that happens to this Spud. Oh, I feel so bad. I was like, oh.
That's the point. That's what he's good at. So we come back from the break and James tries to get too flashy with a rolling 450 on the top onto Spud's outstretched leg, but the underdog moves out of the way and battles back with a forearm, a drop kick, a hurricane rana and a neck breaker for a near fall. They almost lose the run of themselves trying to do too many leapfrogs in a rope running sequence, meaning Spud can only get stomach high with a drop kick, but James rolls to the floor anyway. Spud struggles up to the top and hits a double jump cannonball dive. Back inside, he blocks a German suplex and connects with a satellite DDT, but Ty kicks out. Spud limps his way to the top rope. James cuts him off but gets shoved and hit with the fabulously named 5-stone Spud splash. Spud, though, screams and clutches his knee rather than covering. Ty rolls out the ring and pretends to be more hurt than he actually is. Spud spots him and tries a baseball slide, but Possum Ty catches him and smashes his legs into the railings and on the apron. Ty aggressively throws him back into the ring, and when Spud kicks out of his cover, slaps on the clover leaf. Spud drags himself to the bottom rope and Ty is forced to break. He invites Spud to stand, but he can't, so Ty callously kicks him in the head and reapplies the hold. Screaming, Spud is grabbing handfuls of the canvas to haul himself to the ropes again, and once again, Ty has to break the hold. Nick London claims AJ Styles will be watching this when he gets his regular delivery of FWA videotapes in the post, and I was like, who's sending him those? I wasn't making them for sure. Maybe Tony was taping the show off Skype for him. Ty destroys Spud's knee and hooks on the cloverleaf again, but Spud twists through his legs into a cradle for a desperation 2 count. He finally makes it back to his feet, but Ty instantly chop blocks the bad leg, goes back to the cloverleaf one more time. Spud struggles some more, but James power bombs the soul out of him, clamps the move on proper, and eventually Spud has to tap out. Nick London sums this up with, Spud has a loving mother and father, and James Ty didn't even care. I like this much more on my notes watch when I was stopping to like write down what they were doing, because it made me see the nuances of it more. Spud is so good. What he does best is sell and then fight back from underneath. And that's exactly what he's doing here. While Ty goes from amused that this is his competition to cocky to a sadist when he realises how tough the little bastard really is. 3.5. Great match.
I went between 3.25 and 3.5 on this. Underdog work from Spud is just fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
And, well, he continued that throughout his career. I think all it needed this match was a few tables for James Ty to put Spud through, and it'd be Mike Awesome versus Spike Dudley. This honestly was James Ty's best performance. But I think
you might be right. I don't think it's his best match that we've seen, but you might be right, it's the best performance. Like, he is finally, in this one, he really is showing that mean character we've been told he is since the AJ match.
Being a dick as well with it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think obviously Spud plays his part, and you know, a great wrestling match is when both people can get over, and this is an example of it.
Yep, completely agree.
In the words of a Simpsons sketch midway through it, stop, he's already dead.
Yes.
Oh man, this match is going to live with me for a while, which is wild because it happened about 22 years ago.
You were right. Like, it gets a bit uncomfortable at times, doesn't it? Towards the end.
If you ever want to show wrestling schools and wrestlers who are small that how to kind of play the underdog but show the sympathy and everything, you show them that. He is so, like, you feel uncomfortable the moments like when he does the with the knee, and he does he does it normally, and then he does the flat out one, like
the shin breaker thing.
Like, and the screams, like, that is just, it's perfect for wrestling. But my god, it makes you feel uncomfortable, which is also the point, I guess, as well. I did partly wonder if this, because Spud does get a bit in, but not a massive amount in. I do wonder if it takes away from showing him off for obviously the triple threat. I also did like that James Ty has now beaten 2 of the people in the triple threat, and obviously he won the last triple threat. I like that. But yeah, I go with you guys. I'm 3 to 3.5. But it was, this is gonna live with me for a while. Thanks, Kieran.
You've been scarred.
Yeah.
So we go to the debut of Worlds Collide, the British Uprising 3 hype video. Yes, this is a Kieran Lefort joint. I didn't think this aired this early. My memory of it has it first appearing on the Go Home show. It will show up again uncensored in what we watch next month, so let's maybe talk about it then.
As a preview, Kieran, I would just like to say this is maybe your second best piece of work.
I'll take that. Ad break, and then outside of space and time, John tells us that Flash Barker recently invited, quote, his good friend, British boxing hero Danny Williams, the man who knocked out Mike Tyson, to attend an FWA show. Williams was sitting in the front row enjoying the action when who should show up to speak his mind but the show stealer. So yes, we go back to Broxbourne, and if you remember a few weeks ago, we got to see stills of this, but now we're going to get the whole thing start to finish. Alex Shane is in the ring with a microphone and the FWA title belt. He, of course, insults the crowd and tells them that he battered Doug Williams so badly he bled in a wrestling ring for the first time in 5 years. If this is true, that means the last time was when he got smacked over the head with an MVC sign on UWA Wrestling Rampage that Andy and I watched.
Yeah.
He says he wiped Doug's bloody face all over the belt, took it home, and spent all last night admiring how pretty this belt is now it's covered in the anarchist blood. He moves on to running down Steve Corino before turning his attention to Danny Williams. The crowd chant, "You killed Tyson," much to Danny's amusement, as the commentators tell us again that he knocked out Mike Tyson with apparently 26 unguarded punches, and he is, quote, the future of British boxing. Shane says with Danny here, the FWA should get some great local and wrestling publicity. Who knows, we might even end up in Power Slam magazine. He says, if we'd done things my way, though, and done things right, we could get some tremendous mainstream publicity. We could be on radio shows, TV shows, and in newspapers. He says he met up with Danny Williams and Flash Barker to discuss how Williams was going to be used on FWA shows. But his agent, Ant Evans, writer for Power Slam at the time, who would later become the UFC press officer and be instrumental in setting up the UFC Hall of Fame, told him Danny couldn't be using any boxer versus wrestler storylines because he's fighting for the world title in December.
Kieran?
He did, yes.
Sorry. Was that his agent sat next to him in the...
So I don't know if he is actually his agent. The guy with blonde hair is Ant Evans.
Right.
He's a Power Slam...
I thought it was Ewan Thomas, the 400-meter runner from the Olympics.
He does look a bit like him, yes. So he wrote for Power Slam. He wrote for boxing magazines. He got on the MMA bandwagon very quickly and realised how big that was going to be. And as I said, ended up working for over a decade with the UFC at a pretty high level.
Right.
I'm currently in real time. I've been watching Pride FC, which I fucking love. It's great. And I recently read an excellent article that Evans wrote about Sakuraba versus the Gracies. So he's still around. He's still writing stuff. He's got a book out. I'm not here to plug his book. I don't know him, but he's published a book as well. Yeah.
So that'd be a great connection, Ewan Thomas, given the fact that a year later he appears as the Dragon in the Celebrity Wrestling.
Yeah.
Danny Williams did indeed fight for the heavyweight title in December against Vladimir Klitschko and survived 8 rounds before going down. Shane says this upcoming match will, quote, make him the heavyweight champion of wrestling, of boxing, and the crowd destroy him with "you fucked up" chants. He goes, you can say that I did that, but looking at all your ugly faces, I didn't fuck up any more than your parents did when you were born. Big pop. Williams can't believe what he's hearing, and Shane has got this back on track.
What a fucking line.
Yeah. Shane surmises that having Danny Williams in the front row might be good enough. Beggars can't be choosers, and he'll just have to go along with it. But then I thought last night, I'm not a beggar. I get what I want, when I want, from who I want, and I want mainstream publicity from you, Danny Williams. He says wrestlers get in the ring 5, 6, 7 times a week for a pittance compared to what Danny gets paid. And this is the point where Flash Barker comes out to calm things down. He can see that things are getting a bit testy. No, Alex says to him, this is what we wanted. He then says that Williams couldn't, on his best day, be a professional wrestler on his worst day because you, just like every other scumbag in Brixton, are too lazy to get a real job. Evans and Barker are having words over the barrier as Shane continues. Oh, you feel like you're being used? Well, that's exactly what you did to Mike Tyson. When you knocked him out, he was at the tap end of his career and he was nothing. I knocked out Jake the Snake Roberts a couple of months ago. Does that make me the mighty Hercules? I don't think so. William starts to get up and Alex continues. No, stay there. You didn't want to do it my way. You didn't want to act something else, so I'm going to tell it like it is. If you fought Mike Tyson 10 years ago, you'd be on your back getting licked in the ring. Here we go. Which is something not that you to you, is it, gay boy? He follows more of this line of insult as Danny and his group are leaving their seats. Alex hops out of the ring and heads towards him. How good is this going to make me look? Danny Williams walks away from a professional wrestler. He gets to just the other side of the railings and goes, whoa, I got one last gay line. Takes a big swig of water and spits it all over the group. The flame has made its way down the fuse and has touched the dynamite. This explodes. Members of Danny's entourage go for Shane. I think the white guy who dives over the railing to tackle him is actually the wrestler Tony Sefton. FWA officials flood ringside. Very funny to see Tony Giles and Fozzy among the gang holding Shane back. And a ton of security surround Williams and hustle him out of the front doors with Kieran Lefort Productions in hot pursuit to make sure we get this on camera. This was the one, I've mentioned it before, so this is the third... Yeah, this is the third someone gets thrown out of the building angle they've done at Brock Swan, because they did it with Hayes, they did it with Alex, and now they've done it with Danny Williams. This was the one I had to cut before you hear Donna, the head of security, go, wow, that looked really real. Fuck me, this is really good, and it's infuriating that this angle doesn't go any further.
Yeah.
It's so hot. It's so good.
Yeah.
As you say, there's that moment where it looks like he's lost a little bit when obviously he makes the mistake, Alex.
Yeah.
But then he pulls it right back. And there's stuff that obviously nowadays would be, you'd stare at, I think, well, you shouldn't be saying stuff like that. And obviously that, but this is in a time. This is in a time.
Yes, but he's a heel.
I know, that's what, yeah.
You can say this about half of the stuff like MJF has come out with over the past few years, right?
Yeah, yeah, true.
It depends on the character. It's 100% on the character.
And to be fair, we've seen it consistently from Shane anyway over the course of the time and stuff like that.
If you reverse the participants in the match, Doug Williams shouldn't be saying this stuff to Danny Williams, but Alex Shane can. Yeah.
Because he knows what again, Alex Shane has been a consistent character of doing stuff like this over the course of every since the heel turn in terms of that. But yeah, I mean, it's really sad that Danny Williams gets not his arse knocked out by Vitaly Klitschko in the December. But I mean, I would have loved it if he'd just carried on and went, yeah, I'm going to do something within this wrestling, because I'd have been like, oh, money.
I don't know if there was ever going to be anything else, like whether he'd won or lost that match. I think it was just a case of they had the opportunity to do something and took that opportunity. He is so there's clips in the Uprising 3 video, so we'll cover it next time. He does do one more thing as part of this angle, but yeah, like. I mean, if you don't know by now, we're kind of giving away the end of Uprising 3. He does not fight Alex Shane.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, he'll settle for his $300,000 purse on a pay-per-view that had a record disappointing 120,000 pay-per-view buys. Yeah. Get your head battered and get that type of money rather than wrestling, Danny. That's completely fine with me, fella. Earn your money.
Which is kind of Alex's point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great angle as well. Many of the points like Eddie made about Alex getting it back on track, the promo, and I think with you and Thomas look alike, take it like dragging Danny away. This is Danny Williams, who's like a 250+ pound boxer, just being dragged away by his fucking 11-stone wet mate. And so
I don't agree with that. Ant's quite a big guy.
Well, next to Danny Williams, he did,
and he's not physically dragging away. Like, he's persuading him, like, we can't have you hurt before that title match.
Well,
like, we can't. This is not the time and place to have a fight. Come on, we've got to go.
But it should have been like Danny Williams, a bit closer at least to the guardrail to Alex Shane. When he does his spitting llama routine at the end. So
the problem there is Alex is fucking terrible at spitting. We've seen him do it in several different angles on this show already, and he just can't project like that. So it is kind of lame. The story they went with was they said that there's another guy with them that they said was either Williams's cousin or brother, and he took most of it.
Right.
So the idea was like, oh, he spat on Williams's relative. I mean, I'd be pretty pissed off if Alex Shane spat water all over my brother.
Oh yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. But then when it comes to actually getting out of the building, like how many people are around him? And it's all the big lads too, including Barry, like the promoter.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think the end of it was excellent, and I've got to commend you as well, Kieran. Fuck me, you ran again, didn't you?
Yeah, I used to. Before I did my knee, I used to be able to run.
Jesus Christ, you put in 2 good shifts here, lad. And I hope you had a good sit down after and thought, I've done my bit for this angle, Alex.
On the same show.
On the same show. And I bet you weren't blowing out your arse then, would you?
I would be now. Can't even run for the bus. Fucking hell. So I remember I started editing this as soon as I got home. The plan was for me to leak it online so it would get talked about. We couldn't put it on the FWA website as that immediately exposes the work. There's no social media and YouTube doesn't even exist for another 6 months. So the idea was I would torrent it and use a burner account on the UKFF to promote it. Only I couldn't get the fucking torrent upload to work. I remember DMing someone on the UKFF who I'd seen talking about torrenting, telling them I was a member of the TV production crew and had managed to get out this crazy video of Alex shooting on the mic on a boxer. Could he help me upload it? And he said yes. So I sent it to him, which was no mean feat on 2004 internet, and the cunt just stole it. Never uploaded it anywhere. He vanished. He didn't answer any messages. I couldn't go after him too much because that again would expose the work. I can't remember what sort of publicity it got afterwards, but it got some. Everyone was keeping their eyes open for it. I remember in the company, and like we would text each other if we saw it anywhere. It went in the Daily Star for sure because Patrick Lennon will print anything.
Yeah.
And I had to pull a load of still frames and send them to him. I think somewhere, I've been meaning to look for it, I think I still have the clipping, and if I find it, I will scan it and put it online.
Kieran,
yes.
I bet with it being the Daily Star especially, they put any old shite on the front cover. That would have been front page news. Like
it wasn't front, I don't know what page it appeared on. It wasn't front page for sure. But it got like a half page, and on the it got a half page of an odd numbered page. I remember, so the one that faces you when you open it.
Right. I would say if it weren't the Daily Star front page, definitely the Sunday Sport. They would.
They'd just Photoshop a pair of tits on Danny Williams. I do remember that all the pictures that ran with the story in the Star, apart from the promo picture of Alex cupping his chin and pointing, were pulled from my video, presumably because they were free and they wouldn't have to pay the photographer, who is the guy in the flame shirt who's very obviously running around at ringside. Yeah, they didn't use any of his pictures. They just used grabs from the video. So we go back to John, who invites us back next week for the season finale, where we'll get 5-star Mark Belton versus Colt Cabana, and finally Alex Shane versus Steve Corino. My final note on this episode is Sloan versus Simmons was crap, but the rest of the show was really good.
I think the match quality was better because obviously we had James Ty versus Spud. But yeah, really excited for the return of the Phoenix Gloria Hunniford. And yeah. Other than that, nice hot angle to end the show.
Yeah, it's just a real shame we had to wait this long to air it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what episode the stills were on.
About 6 episodes ago, I think. Weren't it?
It had to have been, wouldn't it? Because they didn't they say in it? Because wasn't it almost as it happened, if I'm not?
It was episode 23. So 7 weeks ago, the stills aired. Yes. And the angle was on the Sunday and the TV episode went out on the Friday. Yeah. And then it's seven weeks before we get to see it in motion. These 2 episodes are very sports entertainment-y. There's loads of promos, loads of skits and videos. It's a sharp contrast to a lot of the just wrestling episodes we've had. We were having to cram a lot of Uprising promotion into a comparatively short space of time, But I think the ideal lies somewhere in the middle. And I think early on, we weren't shooting enough promos to go in the TV show. So it had to be filled up with wrestling. And also, as I said, this whole place was just massively disorganized. So there was no one was ever like taking charge and like getting people to go and shoot promos when we were at shows and stuff. Later on, we definitely started doing more. I think I've said before, like Fozzie was someone I trusted with a camera in his hands. And so very often while the matches were happening, he was grabbing people for promos backstage. But that was real late on in the year. Yeah. Anything else?
Got me pumped for Uprising, definitely.
Good.
So,
Have you ever seen? Just quickly, have you ever seen British Uprising 3 before?
Oh, you know what? I probably have, but I'd be maybe lying there. But I think I have, but it's been too long ago.
Yeah. Eddie, have you seen it before?
No.
Okay, interesting. Good.
But I tell you, can't wait for British Uproar with Feelgood and Colt Cabana.
Yeah, couldn't give a shit about the last man standing match for the I'm going to call it the IC title then, that's all right, the All England title. Definitely couldn't give a shit about Mark Sloan and Stevie Knight going for the tag belts, but, you know, Dirk Feelgood versus Colt Cabana, you're there.
Listen, I'm going to be crying the moment that Terry Funk appears in the six man. I'm going to be hooting and hollering for Terry Funk, and we'll see how the rest of it goes at that point. But no, I've never seen it before, so I'm very interested to see what it's going to be like.
Tremendous stuff. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you on the internet if you want to be found, and the status of 5-star wrestling and all that kind of business.
Well, currently I've just found out that a former FWA wrestler has the ring apron for my company, so I'm gonna have to go into some tough negotiations to try and see if I can buy that off of them. We're still looking into venues across the world. I've got agents looking at everything. We'll have a bit more update soon. I can promise you that. You can follow me on Twitter at @KoadaKicksBest. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Eddie Sideburns. Don't listen to the Restlicious podcast, whatever you do. Apparently it's gone down like a lead balloon, that one. But yeah, other than that, I'm happy to interact with you at any time. Just don't be a dick, which is another line from a stupid company, but please don't be a dick.
And Andy, graps and claps.
Yeah, you can follow me on X. It's Oggy Part 3. My podcast, Graps and Claps, at GCP Podcast 1. Coming up, we've got the first episode in the new series of Shite, as myself and Matty Edwards look at Scott Steiner versus Triple H, and the story of from Royal Rumble 2003 and No Way Out 2003.
Oof.
And also, myself and Mr. Kieran, we're coming back with an episode of Jackie Pallow's Wrestling Around the World. I'd rather it be Phileas Fogg around the world.
Or Willy Fogg, the anime with lions.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Yeah, as we record this, we haven't recorded that, but you will have been able to hear it.
Yes.
Yes. We have both seen all the stuff, even if we haven't yet written our notes about it. It's fair to say that if you haven't heard it yet, you should. We definitely will have talked about some stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. It was an experience for sure. As for this show, you can find everything at linktr.ee/FWApod. We're on Twitter, Blue Sky, and YouTube at FWApod, and Instagram at FWA.pod. I am at Kieran Edits on Blue Sky. Thank you very much for listening. Next month, the King of Old School finally gets his hands on the show stealer, and there's 2 things you can do about it.